kids.
Yeah. He never stops having kids. You're like the Jim Jones of stand-up comedy.
I think we're good to go. I think it's gonna be a theme of this podcast that I had to put your gain at like a 6 and yours at like a 4. Like I had to. Kenyon's that's why I was like, wait, maybe we should do a little test first. Because I looked down and Kenyon's was just a red bar, like fucking peeking straight to the top.
I know. I kept trying to turn down his gain in our car when we were on tour. I couldn't find it.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we're going. I mean, we can cut whenever.
Okay.
If we want to like talk and just cut in whenever, but. Wait, because you guys were just in Nashville?
Well, we were actually. We went to Asheville, Nashville, Charlotte. Yeah, we did a little weekend tour together. It was fun. Nashville's great.
A little father-son bonding.
It was.
It really does.
It was a
it
good
really
time.
does have that vibe when we walk into a place. They're like, "How the fuck do we know?" It looks like I just like am getting my life together, and you're like with the church, and you're like, "We're going to a coffee shop."
No, I sponsored him for several years, and then he came to the States, and here we are doing comedy together. I taught him English.
You're like the Republican senator that like adopted a Cuban boy just to like prove he's not racist.
I will say it holds up because Kenyon's Instagram reads like a phishing email. Like stuff will be like you know what I mean? Like the language will be like so, like you'll post like a picture on Instagram that's like it's like a photo on your story, but somehow it still says like .jpg, and it'll be like, I'm here this night, and you like skipped a word, and I'm like, bro, it's like a 70-year-old man. So I think that story checks out.
That's my way of trying to save myself, is just be bad at the internet. You won't be on it all the time if you suck at it. It's unfortunate for comedy, but I'm not great. Yeah, I'm just like 8 o'clock. Here's what it is. Come, don't. I don't give a shit.
Well, dude, we should introduce a friend of the pod, friend for life,
Jeremy Alder,
amazing comic Jeremy Alder. Thank you for doing the podcast.
My pleasure.
You're our first guest.
Thanks for having me. Really?
Yeah.
You're first guest.
You're our first guest.
Oh, wow! What an honor.
You kind of did buy your way into
I've made it.
Loaning a lot of money to me over there. So that was your way of reserving a spot on the cast. Was loaning unholy amounts of money.
It's all paying off.
Yeah.
Look at me now.
The VIP treatment where we show up to your porch and I go, hey, we bought a 40. Can I get an extension cord? And
I'm waiting for y'all to ask to borrow money.
Yeah. That's the closer. That's how we're.
That's what the Patreon's for. The Patreon. There's a tier of the Patreon called the New Jeremy, and that's where you give us kind of however much we need because you love us.
Oh my God.
But some would say the first official episode of the podcast, because before this it's just been me and Kenyon on Zoom.
Just glitching out, trying to like finish each other's sentences, and then like a minute later being like, no, you know.
It's been bad.
Yeah.
I think it's been really good. Y'all are great. I am so glad y'all have started a podcast together. Seriously, two funniest people I know, and when y'all are together, it's like next level. I'm serious. I'm not just. Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Well, thanks for ruining the vibe with the
I just killed it. I tried to be sincere for a minute, and I ruined it. I'm really sorry. That's how I fuck things up all the time.
Take your big golden heart and leave it at home.
Everyone also should go check out Jeremy's podcast. Legitimately one of the most fun podcasts I've ever done, and like an actual like one of those things where it's like if you zoom out, I'm like, this like actually adds value to people's lives. It's not like a pyramid scheme of like it's such a good podcast. So prepare yourself for 5 more viewers. You're gonna have to buy a new server, up your Squarespace plan, because the 3 people who listen to our podcast are coming your way, buddy.
Oh my God! And thanks for letting us lower the property values on your house by recording here. We just wanted to have a typical NC coming up. This is just what it is. You're sitting on the porch, chain smoking cigarettes, drinking beer, telling it like it is.
It's 95 degrees at 10 o'clock in the morning. we're drenched in sweat. We just got here. We're already sweating.
I brought a change of clothes for being outside for 30 minutes.
And to just like support the vibe of the pod, we went text from Kenyon that's like, hey, can you pick me up some cigarettes? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, I'll get myself some cigarettes too. We'll get a 40. And then it was 9:30 a.m. I was telling them this off pot. I buy a 40 cigarettes, and then I'm like, hey, can I pay with $100 bill? I also almost had to get pads, and I was like, this looks like I'm celebrating a miscarriage.
Well, we really dodged the bullet on that one, sweetheart. It looks like you're using your last $100. You're like, I finally got a big payday from the pawn shop. It looks like Mom is partying today. I'm getting 42 packs of ciggies this time. Chain smoking for every year of this kid's life I don't have to pay for.
Yeah. Well, the way we've done the podcast, like with the two of us, is we've kind of been like, it's served as like also like a mental health check-in for us, because the premise is like, Kenyon and I have very similar neuroses, but we like fail to see them in ourselves, but then we can very easily call them out in each other.
Yeah.
So we were like, let's like keep it in check.
We're really good at shitting at other people, so that's what keeps it in check.
Yeah. But so we've had a sort of informal mental health check-in. So if you don't mind me asking, mental health check-in, like how are you feeling? How is life? Where is the swing of the pendulum at?
Good. I feel like I'm in a good place. I came down off the Prozac about a month ago.
Oh shit!
What? Wait, if you have to take Prozac,
are you kidding?
There's no hope for any of us.
I know.
No, because you're like the happiest guy I know. Like if you have to take Prozac, everyone should just be born taking it. It shouldn't be like. I thought you.
I have used it. No, I've used it like episodically throughout my life to like get me through hard times.
That's how you're supposed to do it, I think.
So this is like the third or fourth time I've been on it for like 6 months, and then I want to be able to cry again, so I taper off. So far so good.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I might start crying at some point during the pod, but
right. No, there isn't like a little bit of too chill on Zoloft. Like my mom got into this car accident and was completely fine, but she was like really upset about like the damage, and I was just like, well, you're not dead. Like, what's the big hullabaloo? Like you're like a little too chill on Zoloft. You're like, what's the issue?
Yeah.
We're outside and there's a car. I was like, we can walk. It's a nice day. And you're like, everyone's like, what is happening? Right. Why are you like a positive android?
Yeah.
I don't know what this says about me that like on Prozac, I'm like, I'm still coming and crying all the time, and they just upped my dose. I'm like, bro, good luck. You're trying to shoot a tranquilizer at a fucking rhinoceros. Like,
I still get emotional, but boy, it's like wearing a chastity belt. I swear to God, I still get hard, but I don't come, and then it really goes the other way, where everyone's like, guys come too quick. It's like, you know what pisses the women off more?
When you never come.
That's what happens. Because it's like, it kind of feels like, someone seeing their favorite closer bomb.
Yeah.
Like, that's how they
it's tough. That's funny.
It'd be harrowing as a woman to be like, just have a man be like, if I was going to come from you, I would have to see the world fundamentally differently.
I would have to have a different chemical makeup in order to have a good time right now.
They fixed the part of me that would have come. Is tapering off of Prozac? I've only like quit Prozac and then been like, whoa, bad idea. I've never actually like responsibly tapered off. Does that make it smooth enough that you're like, all right?
I mean, I think so. I have learned to taper off more gradually, I think. You know, I've tried to quit cold turkey and like gotten the brain zaps and stuff, and that's not a good. That's not a good feel. So I have like, I'll cut up the pills, progressively smaller. But again, like so far, I seem to be doing okay. I feel pretty good. So
it's a great
sitting
tool,
here on my porch talking about cum with a couple of friends.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank God we got you while you were still on some Zach right there. So you're like, this is fine. No Zoloft, you're like, they're late. They're ruining my porch.
Right.
I got 5 kids across the street, and you're putting a bad example. I can't be doing this anymore. Your wife's going to walk in crying, being like, can you just please get into bowling or something?
Right.
Can that just be your
something.
fun thing? Just find something else. Just be a real big fan of, like, the Houston Rockets. Just have that be it.
No, but no, also, like, obviously, don't do that without your doctor being involved, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
No, anytime you're cutting a pill,
Yeah, it's not,
know that that's not sanctioned by
that's not how you
anybody.
should do it.
They
No, no,
actually
no.
do tell. I
No,
have
no.
to do that. I take a pill and a half every day, and they're like, yeah, just break it up.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's a great thing if you're like, if anyone's in any kind of like recovery and be like, what, I missed the ritual. You can still do that
Yeah.
with just like
Yeah.
take Prozac off a mirror.
Just snort that bad boy. I did have that thought when Zoloft started working for me. I was like, will this feel even better? Like as if you snort it and you're like, wow, the clarity. Like you're like,
Yeah,
but apparently, when I read it, it feels like fire ants up your nose. It doesn't do anything. So.
That's the weird thing about Prozac too. It's like no one's getting fucked up off of Prozac.
No.
It's like
Yeah.
a buildup.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it changes your creativity at all? Either on or off?
Oh, I haven't noticed a difference really. It seems like it would though, because I don't feel as much, or I don't feel as deeply.
Really?
So and I think comedy is all about feeling. So
Absolutely. That was my big worry about it for a
so
long
yeah,
time,
so it
but-
probably does. I don't know. I haven't noticed. But I also haven't written a new joke in 6 months, so maybe so. Like maybe that's what it is.
It's like you
yeah,
find a way to blame the Prozac for every time you can't write a new joke.
Right.
Where you're just like, no, it has to do with that. You're like, maybe it stole my system, doc.
Right.
I've been off it for 6 months, but this 10's still stale.
There was one in my pocket and it's been absorbing through my skin.
Yeah. That's just a way you're like, it can't be me. It can't be
Right.
not writing. No, it's fucking this is it. I say that too, but when I was mentally ill, I also wasn't writing. So it's not
Sure.
like, oh man,
Yeah,
Zoloft's taking it. It's like, well, at least, have normal thoughts.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. No, when you're too sad to, get out of bed, you're not going to be creative either. So it's like
They're just too nervous on stage.
oh yeah?
Yeah.
I don't get that.
I've had like panic
get
attacks.
so
You
on
don't
stage
Really?
understand
before.
it as a
That's horrible.
concept?
I
or you don't
understand it
get
as but I don't get
oh, I used to be
I don't
pretty,
get
I used
like
to be a pretty nervous
overly
little guy.
nervous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Occasionally.
Are you generally, is depression more the problem than anxiety? And stop me if any of this is like too
Yeah.
personal, but
Yeah, I think they're definitely related for me, but I didn't recognize the anxiety for a long time for what it was.
Is it anxiety or just natural response to having to raise 4 kids?
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's anxiety that's rooted in reality, at
Yeah.
least,
Yeah.
So I think it's both, but the part that's debilitating is the depression. The anxiety never feels like.
Anxiety kind of sometimes like superpower. You're like, I got to do this.
Sure.
It's just making sure you get shit done.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just some cigarette ash.
yeah, sorry, while you were talking about how mental illness is actually good for you, you had, you had some shit from your cigarette on your face. I just need to know what you do.
What are you going to do? It all comes with a cost, baby. His teeth are black because they've seen some things. It'd be great instead of like, what's your like skin treatment? I'm like, I just rub cigarette ash all over my face. It really just gets gets in the pores. I should have like a North Carolina cologne. It's just PBR and cigs, and then a cookout tray, and just spray it all over yourself.
Dude, being back here and eating like North Carolina food, it's like you cross the state border and you're like, I'm sticky.
Yeah.
Why am I sticky?
Yeah.
Waffle House? We haven't hit a Waffle House yet.
You haven't
But
done
damn, Waffle House. They don't have Waffle Houses in New York. It's so fucking sad. How
I'm kind of shocked. That seems like it could do really well in New York.
I feel so, like right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just cheap, greasy food, open 24 hours. Anybody can work there. Yeah, it's perfect.
Anybody can work there.
Hey, kids. Some children across the street.
Hey, kids, don't do this.
Yeah.
Learn from us.
I mean, this does look like insane.
It's hilarious. No, it's
We look like an anti-vax podcast.
We've been up all day. What's the percentage of people? I feel like Facebook these days, it's like your grandmother posting a QAnon meme or like people you went into high school with.
Yeah,
posting.
100%.
Every time I log into Facebook, it's just some other person posting an anti-vax thing. And I'm like, also, when are you going to find a new bit?
Yeah, why are
For
we still
3 years,
talking
why are
about
you still
this?
talking about the
Why are we
vaccine?
still talking
And
about
guess what? Everyone didn't die.
Yeah.
the 5G hasn't destroyed us all. So it's like, can you just find a new bit? Can you start talking about lizard people? Like,
the 5G is great. These aren't even plugged into anything. They're all shoved up my ass right now. And I'm uploading it to the cloud as we go.
My foreskin is being used to strengthen the single. So it's just, the unoriginality of it.
Yeah.
There's also kids I went to high school with who I'm like, I never heard you talk at all. Like, you didn't have an opinion about anything, and now you're, like, going off about, like, vaccines and shit.
And so confident.
So confident.
So confident.
It's like, as someone who I'm like, oh, I know that you're stupid.
Right.
I've met you.
Right. And you used to know that you were stupid. So, like, what happened?
That was a great era.
Who convinced you that you should be talking
That's like
about this stuff?
I was telling Jeremy on the way over here, the Uber driver had he just came in. He didn't try to ease me into it at all. Blasting like angry like right-wing radio, and it was just like, Elon Omar said this is the hottest day in 1,000 years. How could you even measure that, you stupid bitch? And I'm like, it's 9:30 a.m. Like, can we just calm down? Did you just wake up angry? Did you just wake up and just punch an Elon Omar like punching bag? Like, what is happening?
It's also insane to be an Uber driver that's like working in the gig economy and then play a thing that's like, no tax reform. And it's like, really? Do you like the way you're living?
Yeah. No, that's what I thought. Like, I was because it's like they're talking about quiet, and I'm like, do you like in your last days being a lemming for Exxon? Like, you know what I mean? Do you like that your grandchildren are essentially not going to have a life because you got conned? You got conned by memes made by like Exxon. And that's your thing. Like, I don't know if on one side it's like manatees boiling alive in Florida, and on the other side it's like, I don't know.
Hey, don't be mean. That's a nice strip club.
Yeah. And then I said like, hey, can we listen to something else, please? He just switched to like hardcore Christian rock.
Wow.
I was like, that's bold. He's like, well, we're still gonna pump my ideology.
Old dude.
It's two sides of the same coin. It's crazy. Having grown up like in the Christian rock scene, it's been really interesting to see how many of them have turned out to be right-wing MAGA people. Like, because it is Christian rock, but at the time you were like, oh, these are the cool Christians. These are like the more
like
artistic,
kinda
progressive, interesting Christians. And then after Trump was elected, all of them just started pulling the hoods off, and it was like, oh my God, these people are great. They're all my parents, but they're wearing like skinny jeans and they have tattoos, but they basically think just like my parents.
It's like invasion of the body stance.
It's kind of sad because I believed that it was something different.
It's kind of sad how shallow you are. Where someone just has skinny jeans and tattoos, you're like, well, clearly they have cool opinions. It's like,
well, I was 15.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, of course. I'm like, okay, all right.
That's how they get you.
That's how they get you.
That's why churches are so cool. Non-denominational churches, you kind of walk in there like, I hope I'm cool enough for Jesus.
Yeah.
You're like, I hope, I got to get some new Air Force One.
I got to start working out.
Yeah, I got to start. No, they're really into like, because they've come into like the hustle grind thing where it's like, wake up at 5 a.m., start praying, fucking do all this. And it's like kind of the most genius way. Like, it's all just a nice way to go back to feudalism. Like, we're just going back to feudalism where it's like, wake up, have 4 jobs, pray to God, don't sleep, like sacrifice for your landlord.
Be grateful for it.
Yeah.
It could be worse.
It's just feudalism.
You're not in hell.
We're just feudalism, except instead of working the land, it's 5 gig jobs where we all live in this like sort of like tech collective where we just deliver sandwiches to each other.
Yeah.
You either have a made up office job that pays you like an outrageous amount of money to answer emails on your couch.
Yeah.
Or you're delivering sandwiches to that person.
Yeah.
And that's the modern economy.
And who but God could have helped you weave together 5 jobs that just so happen to provide you with what you need for the day.
That used to be the argument of like, the world is so perfect and built for us. It could only be from God. But now I'm like, it fucking sucks. The world sucks. Why would I be like, oh, well, God must have. Who could have given me this much student debt other than the Lord himself? Look at how perfectly it aligns with all the food I need to buy.
Oh my God! I do pray that there is a God, so there's someone's ass I could kick over all this. Somebody I could genuinely give my 2 cents to about how this went.
Dude, is the Christian rock music like good music? Is that like
I've listened to some bangers, to be honest. There's some Christian rap where like you're kind of vibing to it.
Christian rap?
I've listened to some Christian rap.
Okay, I'm much more open to Christian rock.
The algorithm will be like, this guy's suffering. And then you'll just be like, get this burden off my chest. And you're like, feel that, brother. And they're like, there's only one. And you're like, it's slowly, because they start talking about like struggling with life. And you're like, I understand that. I feel your vibe. And you're like, yeah, and Jesus is going to help you. And I'm like, okay. Well, I could pretend it's just a guy I know named Jesus.
Right?
Yeah. I think Jesus he's a fun guy. He might help me. Might come over, have a good time. If you just sum in all those songs with just a guy you know named Jesus.
Sure.
It's actually a much more appropriate song.
Yeah.
You're kind of putting a lot on his shoulders, but.
And that was kind of the genius of like Christian rock and pop when it came into its own, is that they started writing songs where it was like, is she talking about Jesus or
just
a boyfriend?
Yeah,
just a guy. So it could go
like
either way.
Horny for Jesus.
Yeah,
100%. Do you feel like there's like a slight like sexual undercurrent to it of like, I don't know, because sometimes the way I hear people talk about like Jesus or God, I am like, oh, you like him?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But that goes way back in like Christian history and theology of
really.
Yeah, your relationship to God there's an erotic element. The saints were considered like erotic, lovers of God. That was very common to see one's relationship to God in erotic terms. And there's a lot of like early Christian art that's highly erotic. A lot of nudity and like.
Is that true, male or female?
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, it's very It's weird. Christianity is way weirder than what we see in kind of like mainstream Christian America. But there's definitely like, Christian art from the Middle Ages. It probably wouldn't be allowed in churches, now.
That's crazy. It's gonna be a banned book in Florida.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, some people were trying to get the Bible banned.
I think
like as like a counter move or like
Christians? No, as a counter move.
Oh, wow.
Because it is
it's a little tough.
It's got sex and violence and
some pretty crazy shit.
It's
kind of like what was that show everyone was really into? It's not Lord of the Rings.
Game of Thrones?
Yeah, it's like Game of Thrones but more unwatchable.
Oh. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Kind of.
It kind of is.
Yeah, there's factions fighting, there's a lot of incest and
stuff.
Yes,
100%.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the same vibe.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Is there a part of you that, because like there's always like some people in comedy have a plan B, and I was talking to this with a dear friend Mark McPartland once, that the ultimate plan B move, especially if you're viewed as like a failure in your family, is to turn around and be a born again Christian, because nobody can touch you. Like, do you ever think like, okay, if this fails, I could be the most fire youth group pastor, like, because you're funny, you know how to command a room, like you could take over the scene.
Yeah, but see, that would be me going backwards. Because that's what I came from.
Right.
So I guess it could be like a return to the fold, prodigal son kind of returns.
Right, like I went out
kind of
but
story.
You can still do your dry bar special.
It's just a way to just sell more tickets, dude. Every Sunday, run the weekly solo show.
Yeah.
1,000 years from now, you become like a prophet where it's like Jesus had 12 apostles. It's like Jeremy Alder had 5 sons unto him. And he traveled the nation speaking to the masses.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there would definitely be more money in it. So yeah.
Which is what we all do this for, by the way, the money.
I mean, yeah. That's
yeah.
I'm fucking rich, dude.
Yeah.
I did 2 breweries and a basement bar this week, so I'm rolling.
Yeah. I'm in it, dude. No worries whatsoever. I'm good, baby. Yeah. It's always funny when you make so little the IRS doesn't come after you for comedy. They're like, we're not that sad.
I know.
That's like trying to cut a square off a pizza a rat is dragging. It's like, let him have the slice.
Yeah, no comedians reporting cash to the IRS, right?
No, absolutely.
Nobody's doing
I've
that.
never
Like,
reported cash in my life.
No.
I said I have. This is my feeling about the federal government. It's kind of like my relationship with my dad, where I'm like, you were never there for me, so I'm never going to be there for you. I think that's a fair trade-off. You don't do anything there for me, I will do the bare minimum in return. If we're going to just do bare minimum, I get the libertarian.
Also, you're clearly crazy and you need some help.
Yeah, both sides. You need an intervention. Yeah. Also, I want to establish some boundaries, and I don't think we should talk to each other anymore. Please stop. Please don't call me
Just
back.
stay out of my life,
Uncle
please.
Sam. Yeah, you're done.
Oh man, you're on the road to Q, man.
Me?
Yeah, you're right there.
I'm not on the road to Q. Don't you put that dirty. See, I came because I was talking to Maddie about this, where it's like my dad played so much. We played like a 9/11 conspiracy movie called Zeitgeist when I was in elementary school. I watched that about 3 times. Like that was probably, and in the car whenever we were driving around. Classic, kind of beautiful. It's like my Disney, you know, and that they're both made up things. And then we'd listen to Howard Zinn and Noam Chomsky in the car, like instead of music.
Yeah,
it would just be rant. So it's like I've actually kind of when I was in middle school, I became more of like a veteran,
so
retired conspiracy theorist. Because as I came of age, I was like, I don't think this is true. But like in like elementary school, remember people used to kick my chair because I sat down for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I was like, I will never stand up for a country that murdered 3,000 people to manufacture war.
It's because you were living in like a left-wing parallel universe to me, where we were watching the Branch Davidian documentaries.
Yeah.
What is that?
The Branch Davidian compound, David Koresh and Waco.
That's the Waco. You don't know about Waco?
Oh,
you don't know about Waco?
Vaguely, when you say that name, I'm like, something bad happened.
That's the
when
religious compound that was hoarding a bunch of weapons, and basically they got they got into like a shootout with the federal government for like 100 days.
Jesus.
And then the feds burnt it down, and a bunch of women and children died.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a big rally.
So one guy who was there watching it all go down and actually selling merch on the side of the road while the compound was burning was Timothy McVeigh.
Guy who blew up the Oklahoma.
Who then went on and committed the Oklahoma bombing as revenge for what happened in Waco. So anyway, I remember watching Waco on TV. We had the TV in my parents' room. They had the only TV in the house they would use to watch the news. But when that was happening, it was on 24/7, and that was basically our homeschool day, was watching this all go down and then immediately the conspiracy started that, the feds were the ones that burned it down, and that, Koresh had surrendered, and it was all, basically the jackbooted thugs of the DEA or whatever overstepping. It was the government overstepping. And, so yeah, there was all these conspiracy videos that came out that you could order on VHS.
Back when I was
a kid.
I also watched them.
So then we would watch.
You had to go down the rabbit holes with a mail-in DVD. God damn it!
Then we'd get in the car. We'd get in the car, and where you were listening to like Noam Chomsky or whatever, I was listening to like James Dobson from Focus on the Family, and like Newt Gingrich. Like that was what I was hearing, and Rush Limbaugh. But it was the same thing.
It's kind of. I read a pamphlet when I was in 4th grade that my dad had, talking about like how the military targets poor people, which they do. It's a true thing. Right. That's the thing about the left-wing conspiracy stuff. It's like a lot of it's right, because yours is like, lizard people trying to stop us from believing in God, and it's like theirs is like, I think corporations murder and oppress people for power. And you're like, well, yeah. You're like, I don't know if that's a crazy thing. That's just like a factual statement.
I don't know if you're right about this particular date and time, but you're on the money.
Yeah. But yeah, in 4th grade, I would just, it was a pamphlet that's like, you either get killed by the system or you kill for it.
Jesus.
That was like so.
Leave that.
Yeah. And I remember it really.
Are these like pamphlets that y'all would like leave around, like Christian tracts? Like you would go to the mall and like hand them out, or leave them in bathrooms?
Because my dad, again, he also is mentally ill, so he's not a good spokesman for his cause. What he would do, he would go to a drive-thru, and I would be like, just don't, please. And then he's like in his train, he'd be like, so what do you think of socialism? To a person at the drive-thru, probably someone who would benefit the most from. It's like maybe harass a hedge fund manager or something. And then they'd be like, and then sometimes in the South they're like, well, I think America should always remain free. And my dad'd be like, you think you're free? Wow.
So he was
sorry, and that was a large soda. My bad.
Yeah. He would just fight random people about it.
He was like an evangelist for socialism.
No, he's not. He was an evangelist for anarchism. He's an
Anarchism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
believes in no God, no
Yeah.
masters.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was a real big.
No gods, no masters, no dads.
No God. No he committed to the bit by having no hierarchy in his own.
by stop being a dad.
Dad, can you please parent me? That's a social hierarchy that we need to abandon. It's about lateral mutual aid. Which, son, that's why I need to borrow $30.
You take care of me.
That's quite literally what happened. Dude, he sent his uncle an email. I remember this. I was in 3rd grade, where this is a married man saying that he can't attend his wedding because he does not believe in marriage, and it is a capitalist insurance contract. This is a man who is currently married.
Oh, wow.
And I almost want to be like, listen, we can tell. You don't need to write a letter. We know you don't. Affairs speak louder than words, like we see it.
Oh, my God.
It's so funny, too, that you guys are both learning conspiracy theories at an age where you probably hadn't even learned the facts they were refuting.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, this event didn't happen, and you're like, I haven't even gotten to that chapter of the history book yet. This thing that I don't know about yet isn't real.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
I got. I remember in art class, I got in trouble. I had to move tables because I kept telling everybody they couldn't vote for Barack Obama because he's just a corporate stooge, and they needed to vote for Ralph Nader. Needed to tell their parents to vote for Ralph Nader, and they're like, "You got to stop talking about."
Wow.
It.
Yeah. Wow. I remember pamphlets in our house because my mom was a big like pro-life activist, and we had pamphlets that compared abortion to the Holocaust and to slavery. And I was like, well, someone's gonna have to teach me what the Holocaust and slavery are. It's like, is this bad? I don't know. It looks bad.
You're learning about them in school, and you're like, oh my God, like abortion.
Yeah.
Well, I was homeschooled, so it would have been in college. It would have been in college. I'm like,
Oh my God.
oh my God.
Jeremy, how are you like? I think this goes
Yeah,
for
how
both
did
of us.
you-
How are both of us people? How are both of us human beings?
I don't know. We are both comics, so
Yeah.
are we people?
Yeah,
I don't know. Barely.
We're like the minor leagues of people. We are
Learning
the
to be humans.
Morrisville Mudcats of people.
You're like, let me be the neutered, benign version of an evangelizing conspiracy theorist, which is just a road comic.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. That's all I'm doing. Yep. No, people keep saying that I look like Tucker Carlson,
Oh
Look
my
like Tucker
God.
Carlson.
and I'm like,
Your forehead's not nearly. The
I'm like,
same
yeah,
size.
look, we both make shit up for money. Like, well, I'll take it. That's what we do.
Yeah, yours doesn't hurt anybody. I love that he has like no views now on like patriotstream.com or whatever.
Oh, it's great.
It's
so great.
I love.
Yeah.
I love someone being like taken down the same way like MySpace was, where it's like, yeah, it's just you're lame now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because none of his audience.
Knows
So
how
he
to work
started
the internet.
streaming on Twitter. No one knew
use
how to
Twitter.
get on Twitter and
Yeah.
open an account and
They
actually
just
watch
on-
that
That's
shit.
so
the
funny.
channel's just left on, and in whatever Percocet
That's
age,
right.
you just start watching.
Exactly.
Tucker
100%.
Carlson.
Yeah, try telling a 70-year-old Republican to join an Instagram Live.
Yeah.
Is that an orgy?
Right.
Damn, you doing do you have a Tucker Carlson impression? Because
I
I wouldn't be
don't.
like you look like him, but I'm like you could really.
I could.
You could
Make
do
I
some
a
money.
funny.
feel
you could
like
do a
I
funny-
have to lean into it.
You got it.
I have to lean into it, which means I would have to watch it enough to like pick up some of his
I can't. He
mannerisms.
infuriates me so much.
But I
can't.
can't.
Get through
That's
it.
the thing. I can't.
My
yeah.
Yeah.
blood starts boiling, and I'm like, I could probably figure out where he is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Dude, I just still get that when the fucking Eminem stuff happened, when there was that Chiron, when he was on Tucker Carlson that said, "Miserable non-binary candy is all we deserve."
I thought, yeah.
That's poetry. That's kind of amazing. Oh my God.
No, it's he had someone on there where it's like the left loves THC and they hate cigarettes because THC make you weak and nicotine frees your mind, which is the craziest like pro tobacco
What?
take I've ever heard in my life, which is that cigarettes free your mind.
Well,
you imagine smoking a cigarette like makes you look at the society different. I'm like, and that you won't be able to see it for long.
That's so funny. I think he dips snuff, if I remember correctly.
Really?
He dips.
Of
Yeah,
course,
yeah. So
yeah.
he is a big nicotine guy. That makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and who has a freer mind than Tucker Carlson?
I know, right? Obviously.
Who's more open to the love of the universe?
Listen, it's obviously not just correlation that everyone who dips snuff is like clearly the most open-minded, interesting person I've ever met. Like that's it's clearly a causal relationship there.
Yeah.
There's, you know how open-minded they are. Their bottom jaw fell off so they could let more thoughts in. He said, "Hey, let me open myself up to the universe by having half my face decay."
I opened my mind so wide, my jaw fell off. That's great.
Damn.
Oh, man.
Oh, we're at like half an hour. I don't know. How are you guys feeling? We could keep going and put on the Patreon, or we are at a half hour. I don't know if you
I'm
need
good.
to run.
I can keep going.
We can keep going for a bit.
Okay,
Sure.
hell yeah. Well,
Why
join
not?
us over on the Patreon. It's gonna be a good time.